Hello everyone, here we are back at Cannonball Cottage. Today we're going to do pork, leek and cider casserole or stew. I'll just run you through the ingredients. Obviously here we have the pork, which is shoulder of pork, 550 grams. We have about 700 grams of mixed vegetables. The vegetables are potato, sweet potato, celery, turnip or swede and carrot. Just behind the vegetables there, I don't know, you can see we have some cider, a quarter pint of cider. We have some flour, all-purpose flour. In here we have onions, leek, all diced, and 1 clove of garlic. We have some chicken stock, 3/4 of a pint, making the liquid content into the casserole 1 pint. In this little dish here we have 2 bay leaves, we have thyme, rosemary and sage, and some chili flakes. You can leave the chili flakes out should you wish, and there's half a teaspoon of each in there. And in this little dish we have 1 teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of black pepper. So we'll get on with cutting up the meat. I'll bring this across here now. This pot that's got olive oil ready to take the meat once it's been cut up. In fact, I'll just move that back again over there so you can actually see. I've cut little pieces there, but just cut the meat in half again, and cut it into bite-sized pieces. And then what we'll be doing is browning this off first, and then we'll add the leeks, and I'll put this knife out of the way, bring this back across here, get some meat onto it, and drop the meat, drop the pork into the pan, and just keep your surfaces clear. In the meantime, we'll just give this a little bit of just to brown it off slightly. Let's raise the temperature to bring it on. You can either call it a casserole or a stew, whichever you like. Quite a cheap meal. The shoulder of pork is quite cheap, and for me it's the best joint to use because it's got a reasonable amount of fat. You certainly don't want to use leg pork because it's far too lean and ends up on the tough side. So this is by far more flavoursome than any other joint, part of the pork. And now creating a nice little bit of browning on the bottom of the pan, which is what you want, so that it creates more flavour. And we'll just give that a second or two. I forgot to mention that I don't know if you can see the glass of wine here, the red glass of wine. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the recipe. It's only got to do with, is for me just to have a drink. So cheers. We'll just wait a second while that's browning up. Excuse me while I take a swig of this red wine. perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now I'm getting a little bit older. I've actually cut down on the wine. I only have about 6 glasses a day now. That isn't too bad, is it? I don't think it is anyway, you know, over a 12-hour period. I don't know what you think, whether you think that's excessive, but I certainly don't. So anyway, there you go. We've got the pork browning off. We're now going to throw in the leeks, onions and garlic. This isn't a great amount of garlic. There's only 1 clove of garlic. We don't want the garlic taking over. But we've got a mixture of, I've got 1 medium-sized onion and 1.5 leeks, which were, again, not large leeks, medium-sized leeks, 1.5 leeks. And there it is. Excellent. Now going to add the bay leaves, 2 bay leaves, and the seasonings. I'm going to add the salt and pepper, and I'm also now going to add the cider. So that the cider flavours penetrates into the meat before we add the stock. Let's just tighten it down a little bit. We just need for it to come back to the boil, for it to start to penetrate the meat. The leeks and the onions were only coarsely chopped, as it's a casserole or stew, whichever you choose to call it. When it's ready to be left for about an hour, once we've gone through this process, you need to leave it for about an hour or so, just for the meat to tenderise and obviously your vegetables to cook through. And there we are, back to the boil. I'm now going to introduce, in actual fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the flour. Depending on how thick you want the stew casserole to be, you put in the amount of flour that's required. If it doesn't thicken up to the thickness that you want, you can always use some cornstarch at the end to bring it up to the thickness that you like. Some people like their casserole to be a little bit on the runny side. I personally like it a little bit on the thicker side, so that it's got some body to it. And also, I absolutely love spoon meals. Perhaps I'm lazy. It's so easy, you know. Rather than using a knife and a fork, you can just use a spoon with some crusty bread, some fresh sourdough bread or a French baguette. Absolutely fantastic. And also, there aren't many pans to wash up afterwards. It's a great meal. effectively it's a one pot meal. So anyway, here goes the stock. In we go with the stock, and into the sink with that dish. Keep your surface where you work clear and tidy. It's and now here you go. You just let that come to the boil and simmer for, I would say, an hour. You know, you need obviously to make sure the meat's cooked through and tender. You could leave it on for longer than that, and if you do leave it on longer than that, the potatoes start breaking down and also start thickening the gravy, as it were. But as I said, when the time is up and you think it suits you, if it doesn't thicken up to the thickness that you require, you can always add some cornstarch right at the end, just to get to the consistency that you want. And there you go, it's up to the boil now. And what we do now, I've got a lid to put on. Put the lid on and we turn it down and let it simmer. And I'm going to move that across there now, and I'm going to show you what the finished meal is. I've got, as always, I've got one ready here in the background, ready to go, and I'll bring it across and show you what it's like. And I'll just get a ladle, just make sure you put a cloth on the dish that you're using, just to let everyone know that that the pan is hot. And there you go, we've got a pork, leek, mixed vegetable and cider casserole. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to find some more vegetables to put in there. I don't think you'll be disappointed at this. This is a real one pot meal, spoon meal, that is a great pleaser. You know, if you've got some guests, you put the pot on the middle of the table, let everyone take a spoonful. I'll just move this back out of the way. You serve it with some crusty bread, sourdough bread, French baguette, and there you have pork, leek, mixed vegetable and cider casserole here in Cannonball Cottage, and it's lovely. For me, it's a lovely meal. I'm just going to give it a taste. And it's absolutely, the flavours, it's just got a little bit of a background heat with those chili flakes, but you don't have to put the heat into it. You don't have to put chili into it. It's only my preference. I like food, I don't want it raging hot. I just want it with a background bite that sort of gets you in the throat. As I said, not burning, because it spoils it. All you can taste is the fire, as it were, and that isn't what you want. And of course, The seasonings that I've put in, should there not be enough pepper or salt after you've tasted it, by all means add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. But that is, for me, a great belly filler. It's absolutely lovely. So there you go, pork, leek, cider and mixed vegetable casserole or stew here in Cannonball Cottage. I hope you like the recipe. Please give it a try. Subscribe to our channel, share and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Great meal, enjoy it.